Bamboozled I am, but here you are. And the clip clop of dog nails in the background of this sweet house that I'm pet sitting in is happening. He's also chasing a cat occasionally, so just so you know, if you hear barking or some sort of ruckus, it's not me, and the dog he just does this. I don't know. His name is well, actually, he's not my dog, so I'm not going to tell you the dog's name. The dog's name is Dog. Code name Good Boy, because he is a good boy, and I'm petting him right now. So just so you know, the internet is giving you love to whomever wanted me to give it to you. Anyway, welcome to episode 3. I don't really know what episode 3 is truly about. All I know is that it's simply nice to see you. I don't know how many more of those I can actually do. I hate how cheesy that sounds. I don't like the way that came out, but here we are. I did it. I can't undo it. There's no editing involved. It's just me. So we're talking animation, cartoons, everything I've done in the course of the last 2013 up till now. When I was in high school, I took my sweet, sweet time, and I knew that I wanted to kind of start a company. I didn't really know how I was going to do that. And I actually had this thing called I guess it was for easier, it was called a WISE project, but for an easier description, it was probably like pick your own topic and that's your class. Like we could do different subjects, basically. It wasn't like specifically English or science. It was like, what do you want to learn? Um, it's kind of like when you do a thesis, you just pick your own. What's your end of year thesis? I'm gonna do a thesis on video games. I'm gonna do a thesis. You pick your own topic. But in this case, the goal is to get you out in society, see what like really works, how you want to like blend yourself into your work, see what it takes rather than doing like math and tests and things like that. Wise for me was about starting a business. And I said, I want to learn about starting a business, which, believe it or not, turned into a very good example of what stops me from, well, what makes me stop myself from working, which is I branched. I had a billion ideas. I was overexcited. I was overjoyed. I was so happy to do whatever I wanted that the creative freedom spiraled me into something weird. And when looking at it from this point in time, something beautiful. It put me into a point where I could say, the Brian that I see there is just like a rough cut. He's like a roughed out sculpture. He's not the full sculpture, okay? I thought back then it was just failure. I thought I didn't really learn how to start a business. I learned pieces. I learned how to copyright things. I learned about patents. I learned about trademarks. I learned all about the magic stuff you call basic business, I guess. I don't I don't know what I don't think there's a real name for it because it was kind of all over the place. But you do interviews with people who have different jobs. Like I actually interviewed a copyright lawyer, and that was interesting. That's probably the most interesting. I interviewed someone from IBM who had patents, and that was also interesting. Just so you know, if you ever do want to patent something or trademark something, it's probably like the most expensive thing you can do. Um, especially if you're just starting out. So there are fun ways to handle those situations when you're poor. Um, and you just kind of work with what you got. We can go back to that though in another episode because that's just a long story. Um, so anyway, for my project, I chose how to start a business. And when you choose how to start a business, it's probably best to, like I said, not spiral. And end result, you think when this is done, Brian, you're gonna start a business and you're gonna be great. I learned everything and nothing at the same time, which is how I feel like my cartoons and my animation have gone for the last few years because, yes, I've been learning about animation. Yes, I tried to make it as uh as comfortable as possible. I try to get myself in a space where I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm doing things and I'm being productive. There's a difference between like doing things and then like biding your time. And again, I'm not going to say it's failure because little pieces have become larger pieces of a puzzle that even I didn't know were the larger puzzle. But when you animate things, it takes time as it is. So you want to be proactive as best you can, but you also want to make sure you're not holding yourself back by procrastinating so much that it's like, okay, a year went by. You're you're sitting there thinking, where did all the time go? Where did my space and fun and everything that's supposed to be happening, where did I put it? Where did all my fun go? Well, like I should have 300 videos up by now. That is not the actual case. Um, it's not even how I would say the animation technically goes because the animation that I'm trying to make was too detailed. I do frame by frame animation and I animate it all by hand. I don't seem to like or have the ability to function with the full sets of things like Toon Boom. I find that too complicated. Adobe Flash was good, but I never really learned anything deeper in the animation ecosystem. So when things like Procreate added like that simple sticker book or like the flip book animation, I was fine. So then I ended up getting Flip a Clip later on in life, and that's what kind of helped me draw and do things. But the overall arc of my story is basically this. 2013, I come up with an idea. This is after my Wise project. I come up with an idea. I make it a reality in my head. I can see the vision. I can see the great show. I can feel the magic, the energy. It's flowing through me. The stories are literally coming to me left and right. I make an entire, I guess, plot or subplot or synopsis or whatever you, each episode, 10 episodes, 5 seasons. Now, this is over the course of, I think I had 5 seasons planned out by 2021, but that's just for my main cartoon. My main cartoon has always been the heaviest and the most work intensive in my head. And that right there is something that has deterred me because I'm trying to make things so hard on myself that, like, a studio with the quality that I'm trying to push would make one episode probably a year, maybe two or three if they have enough help, if they're like outsourcing those kinds of things. But I was putting in God, I'm stuttering. I was putting an unnecessary sum of pressure on myself. And that's when I started to try and go down the YouTube route because I think I've always wanted to start on YouTube. I've had a lot of ideas, and YouTube is probably where we're going to go next for the next episode. Um, YouTube has just been one of those things where it's like, if you look at everything that I've done, if you look at where I'm going, there's plenty of social medias, but it always seemed like the user choice when it came to starting out in any video type social media. So there was no there was no question. I've dabbled in Facebook, Instagram, but 2013, you make this cartoon, you bounce around, you make different ideas. I made the cartoon in 2013 after spending probably the summer of 2013 making a very bad upgrade to the Wise project that came out as it was a video game business. And the tough part was balancing the idea of having a business and what I wanted that business to be. It had no focus. So eventually I was like, I like drawing characters. I like giving characters stories. I liked drawing comics in school, and graphic novels seem to be the thing that everyone is always like, you should do that. You should draw graphic novels. But then I always, once again, had to make it a little more work intensive and be like, you know what? Heck with graphic novels. Let's make it animation. Let's go down that road. Let's be bold because that's what I really love. And that honestly clicked into my head somewhere after watching it was it was I watched season 1. No, sorry, we have to rewind a little further. I started out by watching The Simpsons, which I never actually watched. So The Simpsons, they were they were one of those things that I was kind of like, eh, I like Family Guy. I'm watching Family Guy. 2013, I'm watching Family Guy, and then I run out of episodes. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try watching The Simpsons. And then what do I see? It's the cutaway gag or the couch gag, whatever they call them, with Rick and Morty. And that right there is what spawned my cartoon. So maybe we'll talk about that in our next episode. But for right now, uh, I think the message isn't, this one was not as simple as I wanted it to be, but it comes down to sometimes you don't know when inspiration's going to hit. And sometimes it takes time to put effort into a project. And animation is, in my case, a very lofty process. And I think it definitely has its benefits. I don't want to be 40 and then finally finishing my first cartoon. So don't get too hung up on what you're doing. Just having fun with it and doing something is from, like I said, from the other episode. You just gotta go. You gotta motivate yourself in some way. You gotta make sure you're not burning yourself out. You're not overdoing it. You gotta find your path. And it sounds kind of cheesy when you say it that way, but it really is the truth. Anyway, I had a lot of fun. Follow me to the next episode if you want to kick back and relax.